Unsurprisingly, I'm going to pick Cazoo.
Oh, now we have provided our guests with a prop for this.
Have you?
Apologies if you're listening at home there, that was probably very loud.
We wanted to pick the stories that we think are the most important to the motor trade this year. And I think actually probably for the last 5 years, this Cazoo story has been rumbling on, and it's been something that every time I pick up the phone or meet people like we have got in this room today, it's what they want to talk about, and it's for a number of reasons, of which I will go into detail. The one that I've picked is the fact that when Cazoo actually confirmed it was going into administration. So this was from May the 21st, the headline on our website was "Failed Used Car Dealer Cazoo enters into administration."
Did you write that headline?
No, I think John Bowman did.
Oh.
But it does sound like one I wrote. And this was where we went into the detail about the insolvency process and just quite how painful that failure of Cazoo was. And I think, like, really never in my career, I mean, I've been writing about the motor trade for 20 odd years. Don't really want to admit that, but I have. Has a story like the Cazoo one been quite so explosive? And so many people have opinions on it, especially me. And I think the sort of reasons for that is just when they launched, the motor trade was just flabbergasted by quite how much money this company threw around. You know, they didn't just sponsor one football team, did they? They sponsored 2 Premier League football teams. They sponsored the snooker, they sponsored the golf, they sponsored basically anything that they could sponsor, they spent out money on, which meant blowing absolute millions of pounds, which wasn't their money, was it? It was investors' money that came in that they splashed out. This was obviously all led by the founder, Alex Chesterman. And I think one of the other reasons this really kind of gets up the nose of the motor trade is because he just slagged us all off, didn't they? I mean, I say us because I'm one of you now. But I mean, he labelled the motor trade, didn't he, as sharp-elbowed salesman, and said that he sort of kind of puffed out his chest in interviews and just said that we weren't doing the job properly, that the motor trade was doing it incorrectly, and there was what he thought was a better way. And I mean, really, the fact of the matter, there wasn't a better way of doing things, was there?
Yeah, I watched that and the whole thing unfold, and I was mightily angry because, as you know, when we do our awards every year, the used car awards, I'm very passionate about our brethren and our industry and what we do. I think we're service providers for people, members of the public, particularly during those COVID years. We really showed how good we can be. And it really does irk me when people like that want to put down a motor trade and think they've got this grand plan, how it should run.
Do you think anybody will ever try and copy what Cazoo have done and make it work?
Well, yes and no, I guess. I don't think they will if they own the stock. And I think that was the fundamental issue with Cazoo. Because if you look at another behemoth internet car sales giant, Auto Trader, they make a ton of money, don't they? And all they're doing is facilitating people selling cars and people wanting to buy them.
Great point.
So, and Chesterman, you'd think he'd learnt his lesson because he did that kind of love film bit and so on, and he had all his DVDs, but they don't depreciate too much in value compared to a used car. So, for me, the industry was ripe for a bit of change because I'll be honest, I mean, certainly in our business, we weren't as online savvy as we should have been, and loads of other businesses in the 6 months from lockdown reopening got dead good at that, didn't we?
Well, I think
so actually, his USP disappeared in about 6 months.
Exactly.
But the flip side of that is there's also this sort of power of crowds, isn't it? Mm. So you want to be in the new thing. You're happy to invest in the new thing. I mean, we've had these dot-com bubbles before, didn't we? In 1999, just a website name was worth 100 billion in the States and all this sort of stuff. So, people have a tendency to get kind of carried away with the narrative rather than the reality.
But, for a second-hand car, it's going to, if it's been driven a lot on the motorway, it's going to have a lot of stone chips. If it's, and they're all so different. I think that ultimately, you need to see the metal, touch the metal, and be happy with it. And also, I think people buy cars from people. So, again, just taking that completely out of the transaction is not going to help.
Does anybody want to comment on the Cazoo one? Has anybody in the audience got a comment they'd like to? Rebecca, there's one at the back there.
I was just going to say we've definitely talked about Cazoo enough.
Yeah, okay.
So when you talked about them when they launched, if they'd have pitched that they were going to set up dealerships in addition to doing the online thing, it wasn't a revolutionary thing, so they would never have got the investment. Do you know what I mean? So I think Mr. Chesterman, he must be loving it because he's created this business that was never going to work, raised loads of money, took a massive chunk, bailed, and we're left with the legacy of it, which means we have customers who expect cars can be delivered across the country, and if they ain't happy, they can send it back. Like now, we're in a situation where customers, they have a scratch, they have a stone chip, they just want to send it back. And, you know, they can just wake up and have a bad night's sleep, and we're just going to send the car back. And actually, it was good. I kind of thought it was good in the pandemic, but now the legacy of it is it's hard work. It's made our jobs tougher. Yes, we sell more cars, I would suppose, nationally, and get cars out to people who wouldn't necessarily buy off us. But you've just got that spectre hanging over you of if they wake up the following day and decide, yeah, it's not for me. So, yeah, Cazoo can suck balls for me. Anyway.
Anybody else on Cazoo?